She started investing at 53. No inheritance, no windfall, no secret strategy, just a regular salary, a late decision, and 12 years of consistency. Today, Gloria is 65. Her portfolio has grown over 850% from her initial contributions. She doesn't drive a Ferrari, she doesn't live in a mansion, but she sleeps through the night. She helps her grandkids. She works because she wants to, not because she has to. And when people ask what she did differently, she says one thing: I started late, but I started. Here's the thing nobody in personal finance wants to say out loud: the deadline is a lie. The idea that if you didn't begin investing in your 20s, you're already done, that belief has kept more people broke than bad stock picks ever will. Today, I'm going to prove it. With math, with real strategy, and with zero sugarcoating. Let me show you something alarming. 74% of Americans have a financial regret. And across every generation, boomers, Gen X, millennials, the number one regret is the same: not saving for retirement early enough. Millions of people walking around carrying this weight. This quiet shame, this belief that the train already left the station and they weren't on it. But here's the strange part. When researchers asked why people still haven't done anything about it, why they haven't started, the most common answer wasn't, I don't earn enough. It wasn't, I don't understand investing. It was high prices, inflation, life costs too much. Translation: the money exists. It's just being swallowed by things that feel urgent instead of things that are important. And that's the trap, because the voice that says it's too late becomes the perfect excuse to spend everything now. If retirement is already ruined, why deprive yourself today? It feels like logic. It's actually a self-fulfilling prophecy. This video is about breaking that cycle. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. The standard comparison is brutal. $500 a month invested at 25 at a 7% annual return by 65, you have roughly $1.5 million. Start at 40, $380,000. Start at 50, $160,000. Those numbers are real. Starting early is mathematically superior. I won't pretend otherwise. But here's what those comparisons conveniently leave out. First, who in their 22nd actually has $500 a month to invest? The median net worth of Americans in their 22nds is under $40,000. Most of them are paying rent, crushing student loans, building careers from scratch. The mythical 5-year-old investor in these examples, he mostly doesn't exist. The person who actually has $500 a month to put away is usually someone in their 40s or 50s whose mortgage is manageable, whose kids are grown, whose income finally has some breathing room. Second, the 7% assumption matters enormously. The S&P 500's nominal average over the past 100 years is closer to 10%. Over the past decade specifically, it averaged nearly 15% annually. Someone who started investing at 55 inches 2015 and captured that run looks very different from the pessimistic projections. Third, we're not talking about a short runway anymore. Life expectancy in the US is now 79 years. If you're 55 and reasonably healthy, actuarial tables give you roughly 30 more years. The CDC reports that people who reach 65 typically live into their mid-80s, many into their 90s. The mental model of running out of time at 50 is decades out of date. 3 decades of compounding is not nothing. It is not hopeless. It is an opportunity. Here's where it gets interesting, because the tax code was specifically designed for people in your situation. It's called the catch-up contribution, and most people have never heard of it. In 2026, if you're 50 or older, you can contribute up to $32,500 per year to a 401k. That's the standard $24,500 limit plus an $8,000 catch-up bonus that doesn't exist for younger investors. If you're between 60 and 63, there's a super catch-up, an additional $11,250, bringing your annual total to $35,750. Let's run a real scenario. You're 55. You have zero saved. You start maxing out a 401k at $32,500 per year, invested in a diversified portfolio, returning 8% annually. By age 67, $570,000. Add employer match. Add Social Security. That is a real retirement, not a fantasy one, not a perfect one, but a meaningful one that gives you options instead of desperation. And that's before we even talk about IRAs. In 2026, you can also contribute up to $8,600 to an IRA with the catch-up. That's on top of your 401 KEK. If you're married and your spouse works, both of you can max out doubling the household potential. I know $32,000 a year sounds unrealistic to a lot of people watching this. So let's talk about a scenario that's actually within reach. You're 50, zero saved. You can't max anything out. But you can contribute enough to your 401 KEK to capture your full employer match, let's say 6% of a $70,000 salary. That's $4,200 from you, plus $2,100 from your employer. You also put $200 a month into a Roth IRA. That's another $2,400. Total invested per year, $8,700. At 8% average return, in 15 years, $250,000. Add Social Security benefits, which you've been earning your entire working life, and that picture changes dramatically. Is it the same as someone who started at 25? No. Is it life-changing compared to nothing? Absolutely. The only losing move is the one you don't make. Now, I want to tell you something that runs completely against the conventional story. Older investors have advantages that younger investors don't. Think about this. The single biggest destroyer of investment returns isn't bad stock picks. It isn't high fees. It's panic selling, buying high when you're excited, selling low when you're terrified. The average investor dramatically underperforms the market, not because of what they chose, but because of when they acted emotionally. When markets dropped 30% in March 2020, inexperienced investors sold at the bottom. Those who held or bought more saw full recovery within months. A 5-year-old has lived through recessions, crashes, bubbles, and recoveries. They've watched the world not end multiple times. That perspective is worth more than a decade of compound interest. It keeps you in the market when amateurs are running for the exit. There's also something quieter, but just as powerful: self-knowledge. At 25, you might think you can handle a 40% portfolio drop. At 55, you know whether you can, because you've experienced one. That honest self-assessment lets you build a portfolio you'll actually hold through the chaos. But I need to issue a warning here, because this is where a lot of late starters make a catastrophic mistake. When people realize they're behind, the temptation is to catch up fast. High-risk bets, crypto speculation, options trading. Some tip from a coworker. Don't. When you're 55 with limited savings, a 50% loss isn't just a setback. It may be unrecoverable. Gloria didn't build 850% returns through gambling. She invested in diversified index funds. Boring, consistent, boring. The market did the heavy lifting because she stayed in the market. Late starters need reliable growth, not lottery tickets. The gap between aggressive and reckless is where retirements go to die. Let's talk strategy, because a 5-year-old should not invest like a 5-year-old, but also should not invest like conventional wisdom says a 5-year-old should. Asset allocation. The old rule says hold bonds equal to your age, so a 6-year-old holds 60% bonds. But if you're starting late with a small portfolio, that level of conservatism guarantees you won't build meaningful wealth. An 80% equity allocation, even into your early 60s, can make sense if you have stable income and a real runway. This isn't reckless, it's math. Social Security optimization. This becomes critical when you have limited savings. Delaying your claim from age 62 to 70 increases your monthly benefit by roughly 77%. That's not a small number. For someone with a modest portfolio, that extra monthly income over a 20-plus year retirement can outweigh almost anything else. If you can work until 67 or 70 and let those benefits grow, you're effectively buying yourself a government-funded annuity. Part-time work in early retirement. This is underrated. If the market drops 30% the year you retire and you have even modest consulting income, you withdraw far less from your portfolio during the recovery window. Late starters often have real professional expertise that translates well to freelance or advisory work. Use it. Downsizing. Emotionally difficult, financially powerful. If you own a home with significant equity, selling and moving to a lower-cost area can add hundreds of thousands to your net worth, instantly more than years of savings contributions. Not right for everyone. But it should be on the table. Let's talk about why people stay paralyzed, because it's not actually about information. People who don't start investing in their 50s aren't missing data. They're missing permission. They've internalized a story. I failed. I missed it. It's too late. And that story feels true because you can find evidence for it. The compound interest charts prove it. The retirement savings statistics confirm it. But evidence can be found for any story. I can show you evidence that most Americans have almost nothing saved, and that even modest late-stage investing puts you ahead of the majority. I can show you evidence that life expectancy keeps rising. I can show you 5-year-olds who retired comfortably at 70 with enough money to genuinely enjoy their final decades. Which evidence you focus on is a choice, and that choice determines what you do next. Here's the brutal truth. You're going to turn 65 whether you save or you don't. You're going to reach 75 with something or with nothing. Nothing is what happens by default when you decide it's too late. The math of delay works in both directions. Every year you wait, after convincing yourself it's too late, makes the problem measurably worse. The same logic that says it's too late now will say it's even more too late next year. It's a trap that closes tighter with every passing year. The only exit is to reject the premise entirely. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. You've heard it. It's a cliché. Because it's true. Here's what I want you to actually do after this video. 1. Run the numbers. Not the maximum theoretical scenario, the realistic one. Use a compound interest calculator, plug in what you could actually commit to each month, and see what 15 years produces. You might be surprised. 2. Set up automatic contributions tomorrow, not next month, tomorrow, even $50 per paycheck. The amount matters less than the habit. Starting creates identity change, and identity change makes increasing easier. 3. Learn your tax-advantaged options. If your employer offers a 401k match and you're not taking the full match, you are leaving free money on the table right now. If you qualify for catch-up contributions, use them. If a Roth IRA fits your tax situation, open one. 4. Calculate your Social Security benefits at different ages. The SSA website has estimators. See the difference between claiming at 62 versus 67 versus 70. For late starters, that larger monthly check often matters more than for someone with a massive portfolio. 5. Tell someone, a friend, a partner, a family member. I'm starting to invest for retirement. Making it public makes it real. It shifts it from aspiration to identity. Gloria did all of this. She wasn't special. She had a decent job, discipline she didn't know she had until she needed it, and one decision: to stop believing the lie that her time had passed. 12 years later, her portfolio tells a different story. The people who truly miss out on wealth aren't the ones who started late. They're the ones who never started at all. The age on your driver's license is not your destiny. The only thing that determines whether you build something from here is whether you decide to try. Start now.